This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time!
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah!
I finished these fights.
Give me a hell yeah!
Top Rope Nation.
Learn to love it. It's the best thing going today.
Hey guys, it's WrestleMania week, and this is the best damn wrestling podcast on the internet. Top Rope Nation, your favorite wrestling trio is here to get ready for the big show this Sunday. First of all, you might hear some dogs barking in the background. That's all right. We got Kyle Ross of TopRopePress.com. Kyle, what's going on?
I don't know. I think I was barking a little bit before I was supposed to there. Whoops.
I think the recording wasn't started yet. I think.
Oh, okay. Good. All right.
So Kyle was with us last week. We did a kind of a joint show with Oversell Podcast. We previewed WrestleMania fully last week. So if you want to hear our match-by-match previews, you can check out last week's episode. We're going to talk a little bit later on the show today, though, about the matches in general and what we think is trending up and trending down going into the show. But also joining us, making his return. He missed last week's show due to illness. Back with us, Justin Joint in the house. Justin, what's up?
Finally, the Joint has come back to Top Rope Nation. I am so pumped to be back on this ultimate thrill ride of a podcast. I'm Justin Joint, lover of the only three leagues that matter, NBA, EPL, and WWE. And I have a confession, guys. Listening to you last week with our good brothers on the Oversell podcast gave me some Glenn Close Fatal Attraction feelings. I got a little jealous and a little sad that I missed talking WrestleMania with y'all, but don't worry, you're not going to walk into your kitchen to find your beloved pet rabbit boiling or anything like that. One quick thing that has to do with optimism and wishful thinking. This goes back to a podcast 2 weeks ago. It also, unfortunately, requires me to give props to Kyle. A couple of weeks ago, Ryan asked us about our anticipation for WrestleMania, and I kind of put on a poo-poo face because some of the matchups weren't lining up how I would have preferred, and I'm just kind of a lame-o. Kyle then pointed out that this is one of the deepest WrestleMania cards ever, and how a lot of matches have good and long-term storytelling going in, and we don't normally get that. So I let fantasy booking bring down my excitement level, and I regret that. The point is you shouldn't always let your expectations ruin what is right in front of you, especially when what is right in front of you is pretty darn good. You know, seeing the forest for the trees type deal, or don't let an appetizer ruin the main course. Or my favorite saying of them all, you can wish in one hand and Goldberg in the other and see which one fills up first.
To quote Kyle Ross, as you heard in our intro, oh no. Justin, you're still kind of new to the show. Oh, I guess you've been with us for 3 months. You can never admit Kyle was right about something.
That's the last time.
I feel if we zoom out on Justin here, we're going to see he had like cue cards written for him, like Mick Foley did on Raw or something last week. That's what they kind of felt like Vince and like drop the hammer down. Like, how dare you go on a podcast and doubt the ultimate thrill ride? You're coming around. I'm going to be there, obviously, and I'm pretty jacked. I'd be stunned if it didn't blow last year's show out of the water. Not that that's
low bar,
but yeah, I think there's a lot. Maybe there's not going to be an OMG MOTYC for what was that term we came up with last week, Ryan? Johnny New Japan.
Oh, yeah, Johnny New Japan.
That's Johnny New Japan will not be able to field the snowflakes, perhaps. But, I think you got 8 programs that are pretty well built here, and that's what you're looking at.
Well, not only that, unlike a lot of previous WrestleManias, this one seems really unpredictable as far as who's going to win. Like, almost every match, I could see it going either way.
Yeah, it all boils down to what they have planned after the show, so.
Yep.
I still have one really big problem with the show that I got to get off my chest. We'll just do this right off the top of the bat. The show is going head-to-head with the World Series champion Chicago Cubs, kicking off their new year in St. Louis against the hated Cardinals. if you guys are watching us on YouTube, I'm representing Cubby Blue right now, my Cubs t-shirt. I'm looking forward to that, but you know what? Covering the wrestling industry, I'm going to have to watch WrestleMania live. I'll catch the Cubs game later.
There's 161 more, but I'll say this. Baseball, I don't know why they're starting this week. Because you have the Final Four, they're playing the championship game Monday night. It just seems like a silly time to start.
Aren't they talking about moving up opening day too, so the years don't go so late into November? I thought I heard something about that. That would be a mistake. Imagine baseball in Minnesota in March, mid-March.
So they can, yeah. I mean, obviously they couldn't play. I mean, why? So the Twins could never play at home the first week of the year because otherwise you're going to have 7 frickin' postponements.
Yeah. So, well, that's going on Sunday night. But
Minnesota, remember?
Yeah, I wish it would. That new stadium up there, I know Justin's seen it. It looks pretty badass. So I think it'd be an awesome place for a WrestleMania in the future. And you got all the history with the AWA and everything. And yeah, hopefully at some point, it's a nice place. But speaking of history, guys, I wanted to throw off right off the top as we tape this. This is Wednesday, March 29th. This is the 30-year anniversary of WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome. Kind of a historic show, just like the impact the show made. Now, match quality-wise, obviously you got Steamboat Savage on that show. And Hogan Andre, though, and that's what sold the tickets. I think all of us, we were pretty young kids at the time, whether we saw it live or a couple years later on VHS like I did. That Hogan Andre match really made an impact on me and probably drew me into becoming the big fan that I was at the time, but and still am. I know Kyle has some deep thoughts on WrestleMania 3, though, kind of a hot take. And you said in pre-show, you got a hot take on WrestleMania 3.
I don't know about deep thoughts. I mean,
I've been wondering what you're going to say here, so I got to hear it. Go ahead.
Well, first off, it's funny, we talk about, where we were in life and wrestling fandom there. That was the first wrestling pay-per-view. I did not watch it live, but it was like the first big show after I became a fan. Like I started watching regularly, like pretty late 86. So, there's always a special kind of vibe and place in my heart that show has. But I still think it's the best WrestleMania of all time.
You call it the best? Wait, what? The best WrestleMania of all time? Really?
Yeah, just the best WrestleMania. Just
because of like the impact the show made and.
I mean, yeah, because when you talk, I mean, what's the common complaint nowadays from podcasts such as this one? Booking.
Yeah,
the show's perfectly booked. What are you going to change on that show? It's got the most famous match ever, Hogan Andre. The best match. I know some people, have kind of rallied behind Slaughter Sheik from MSG as the best WWE match of the 80s instead of Savage Steamboat. Whatever. I think Savage Steamboat still gets that honor. And then Piper Adonis. I don't know why that's kind of gone so overlooked historically. Maybe it's because you could not do that Adrian Adonis character in 2017. Certainly what they were going for. Or the fact that he was done after that. But you're not going to find a stronger 3 matches at the top ever in the history of wrestling than that show.
I mean, I'd say most impactful WrestleMania, but man, to say best, I'd got to disagree with you there.
Well, I'll tell you why it's better than the consensus choice 17. 17 features maybe the worst booking decision in company history. The heel turn of Steve Austin.
Funny you should mention that because Justin and I last weekend, we actually went out for some adult beverages with another friend of ours. And we were talking about that, actually, WrestleMania 17. And Justin and my buddy Tim got into a little back and forth on the ending of WrestleMania 17. So it's funny that you mentioned that. But I agree with Justin. I mean, I think, yeah, most impactful, no doubt. I'd agree with that. But if I'm going to say best WrestleMania of all time, I have to go with the one that if I could pick any of the 32 editions, the one that I would sit down and watch straight through and choose to watch, and that'd be 17, no doubt, for me.
I don't know. Like, that ending is so bad. Like, Steve Austin did a great job with as far as, like, his character as a heel, but, people bitch about, Kevin Owens losing to Goldberg. The impact that match had is so minimal compared to what they did with Steve Austin in that show. I mean, that is like an atrocious decision.
Why? Why? Tell me why you think that. I know it didn't work out.
I mean, have you ever looked at the business? I mean, the business literally nosedived. That was the start of when post-Mania. I mean, the years before, the 3 years before, I want to say 4 years before, actually, going back to 97. business had picked up actually post-Mania every year those years. Now we're kind of used to just a little bit of a decline, and then it steadily goes down the rest of the year. But 97, 98, 99, 2000, business kept going up. 2001, it nosedived when Steve Austin turned heel. I mean, I would argue it is the worst booking decision in the history of the WWE to turn him heel. There's just, I couldn't even, the WrestleMania 3 equivalent of that would be had Hulk Hogan turned heel, embraced Bobby Heenan, and it would just be all, and the whole thing on Andre was just a big ruse. And that obviously would be the stupidest thing anyone's ever seen. That's the equivalent of what they did with Steve Austin.
Yeah, I think the data backs up what you say about that being possibly the worst booking decision of all time. The heel turn was a massive flop. From what I remember at the time, there was some talk about turning Rock also, but they didn't want to because they were worried about how that would impact like his Hollywood numbers, because this was right when he was starting to kind of transition.
He left for a little bit after this to like SummerSlam.
Yeah. I think that might have been when he was that when he went out to film Scorpion King, or was that I can't remember. Maybe this is when he went out.
This was the first movie related absence he did.
Mummy Returns then. Yeah. But I just remember maybe it was after that, or there was some debate that like Rock couldn't turn heel because he's going to Hollywood and he won't sell as many tickets. And
it's funny because he was the one who got booed on all the big shows over the next year and a half.
Yeah, when he finally turned and he came back in the spring of 2003 as a heel, he did some awesome segments. I always remember that segment he did in Sacramento.
Yeah. When the Lakers beat the Kings' ass in May. Yeah, that was great. I just think, to me, when like that needs to be accounted for. Yeah, the wrestling might be better on 17, but man, oof.
I don't think any might be about it. The wrestling is 1,000 times better on WrestleMania.
I don't know if 1,000. I don't know.
I do.
I mean, there's some duds on 17. Go through the card. I mean, there's some like freaking Test, Eddie Guerrero.
Well, I mean, outside of
Souls, but I mean, that's no good.
Outside of the 3 you named on WrestleMania 3, those were all duds. I mean,
I wouldn't go that far at all. I think some of the stuff there was.
I mean, hell, most of them I don't even know if they went 5 minutes.
What does that matter though? That's Johnny New Japan.
You gotta
that's Johnny. New
Japan. Be all right. We got to get a new T-shirt with Johnny New Japan on it. Has to happen.
Because, like, actually, to be honest, it's funny because, like, Savage Steamboat, I mentioned that some people, as the years have gone by, have moved to like Slaughter Sheik boot camp match in '84 is the best WWF match of the '80s. To me, like, I actually respect what Savage and Steamboat did that night even more now, 30 years after the fact, because it was basically a sprint. That's not the kind of, like, now a great WWE match. It just kind of follows a certain pattern and formula. Those two did something that I don't know if anyone on the current roster is capable of doing that match. I mean, that was a 14-minute sprint they did. They didn't get 25 minutes of finisher prostitution and there was a ref bump, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, they didn't get all the bells and whistles. I mean, that's a really hard match to do. When's the last time you saw a 14-minute sprint that good in WWE? Probably never.
Yeah, I agree. The build to 3 though is one of the best.
The booking is unbelievable. All the memorable angles. I mean, 17. I mean, it had that silly battle royal. You know, I mean, there was stuff that wasn't that good. I mean, Kane versus Raven versus the Big Show. I mean, there were some duds on that. I mean, look, they're the 2 best by far, but I mean, you got to pick nits, and to me, I don't know.
So if I gave you 2 Blu-rays and I said you're watching straight through WrestleMania 3 or 17, you're going to watch 3 straight through?
Yes.
Ooh, man. I could not agree with that. I agree the build was probably better. Although, God,
it was,
remember 17,
build to 17 wasn't good, except, I mean...
Well, Austin and Rock's build was excellent.
Yeah, but unfortunately they put Limp Bizkit over that.
It's true, but man, I'm not a big Limp Bizkit fan, but the My Way video with leading in, that was great stuff.
But the video, but like they only gave him like what, a couple weeks to do. Like they did that one really great sit down interview. I think it was with Jim Ross.
Yeah, where Austin was talking about how he needed this win.
Yeah. But like the build, if you go back, I mean, like take a match like Triple H Undertaker, that build was no good.
Yeah, I would still rather watch Triple H Undertaker than probably 75% of the matches on WrestleMania 3.
I don't know.
You got that. You got Austin Rock. Obviously, I'm looking at the card. The TLC match at X7 was good. You've got Angle and Benoit.
They did better. They had better matches.
Shane and Mr. McMahon. Vince,
that was actually really good.
That was a good match.
Really, the ending with that was probably Linda McMahon's greatest contribution to pro wrestling. That angle.
Jericho and Regal.
That wasn't that good.
Yeah, but it's,
and by the way, you talk about terrible build. The build was over him pissing in William Regal's tea. It's a pretty awful build.
True, but I mean, come on. When it comes down to watching the matches, I'm taking X7 all day.
New Japan's back.
All right, so yeah, 30th anniversary WrestleMania 3. Kyle's favorite, Hulk Hogan main eventing that show.
No, and the match isn't good, but I mean, you can't deny the impact.
Yeah, you can't.
The most famous professional wrestling match that ever happened.
And as Hulk Hogan once said, he tore every muscle in his back as he slammed Andre that night. Even though he wrestled like a week or two later. But
there's a lot of good underrated, like the 6-man on 3, the Bulldogs and Santana against Danny Davis and the Hearts. That's a fun 6-man where Mary Hart calls a pile driver instead of Gorilla Monsoon.
That match, Savage Steamboat, Hogan Andre, those are probably the only matches
that really good.
Well, yeah, it's decent. Those are like the only matches off that card I would want to watch.
I don't know. That's crazy to me.
So Kyle is going, as we said, he's going to Orlando. You're taking in a lot of shows over the next few days.
Yeah.
Safe travels to you on your way down to Orlando. But so how many shows exactly? How many shows are you going to then? What's your schedule? Lay it out.
We're doing Evolve tomorrow night. Progress and Evolve on Friday. Probably the WWN Live Super Show Saturday night. And then Mania, obviously, Sunday, and then Raw Monday.
So you're not going to TakeOver?
No.
Couldn't get tickets or just didn't want to go?
We got the WWN Live package, and the Super Show was actually going opposite. It originally, because, this year they switched the Hall of Fame and TakeOver nights. And that kind of threw us off because we were anticipating TakeOver being on Friday night. We had nothing. We left Friday open, but once we got that package, and honestly, TakeOver is, I know we all said it going into the last one. This is kind of the least amount of interest I've got going in one of these in a long time, and it's more than delivered. But I kind of feel that way again, and that's a disturbing trend with the NXT brand.
I agree. Justin used to write the NXT reviews for TopRopePress.com. How are you feeling about TakeOver? Do you have any excitement headed in, Justin, or what are your thoughts on that show on Saturday night?
I watched the last half of Oni Lorcan and Cien Almas the other day, and that is the only NXT I've watched in months. I will still definitely watch the show. I'm excited for it. They're normally all pretty good shows, but just Raw and SmackDown take up way too much of my wrestling week, so don't have the time for NXT. And to me, there's not a lot going on. That's titillating.
Is that, by the way, Kyle, that Progress show, is that during the afternoon on Friday?
It is.
Yeah.
I believe it's 12 o'clock noon.
Okay. So while we're at work, you're going to be watching Progress.
Yeah. And Evolve is at 4 o'clock. They're back to back in the same place. So looking forward to that. Some guys are working both shows, actually.
I was going to ask you, so of the indie shows you're going to, what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Matt Riddle, by far. To see the hype. I mean, a lot of people consider him to be, as far as catching on to being a pro wrestler in such a short amount of time, people are kind of comparing what he did last year with, Kurt Angle, his first year in the business, in terms of just being able to pick it up like that and just seeing a star. So I'm really interested to see him. Obviously there will be a WWE title defended on the Progress show. The UK title is being defended on that show. So
that's
I
right.
think somebody tweeted something out about the last time a WWE title was defended on a non-WWE show. I can't remember what it was now. It's bothering me. But
was it Bret Hart at the Terry Funk retirement show in like 97 in Texas?
I wonder if that's it. That might be it.
It's the only time I can think of. Like, that's not even recent history. It's 20 years ago. But
yeah,
to me, it doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah, and then I think like before they did that bad light heavyweight division, before they brought it back, there actually was a WWF light heavyweight title. Most people don't remember that in the late 80s. I think it was actually on the line in the J Crown, the 96 J Crown, maybe. I don't know, but that's really stretching the boundaries. Again, it's a big deal, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's kind of funny. I mean, people talk about NXT. To me, we know the deals progress and evolve have with WWE. It's kind of the same thing. It's a lot of future talent.
Yeah, there's
a lot of it's better than what they have in NXT. I mean, not obviously at the top. Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura are more than main roster ready. It's kind of comical that they're both not there yet. But man, I don't know. To me, I'm looking forward. I'm personally looking forward to being part of it's because I'm going to be there, but watching those shows more than I would on NXT.
I hope you're taking some of your top rope press gear to Florida to represent.
I will. Although I'll tell you what, with the pounds I've put on, that shirt ain't looking so great, man. These days, I was in good shape back when I had you send that last shirt, and oh boy, my belly.
I gotta send you the Top Rope Nation shirt yet. I got one here for you. I just gotta send it to you. But yeah, speaking of which, you guys are listening right now. Pro Wrestling Tees this weekend for Mania, they're running a 15% off sale on all T-shirts. So you go on there, you can pick up your Johnny Wrestling shirt. I believe they're still selling. No Johnny New Japan shirts yet, but you can pick up a Top Rope Press shirt. We got Top Rope Nation podcast shirts. That's probably, I'm not going to lie, it's probably the best one. The Top Rope Nation logo on it. So we got good stuff on there. You go to prowrestlingtees.com/Top Rope Press and support the website, support the show. So I'm actually thinking about, speaking of all these shows you're going to do, Kyle, I'm thinking about getting Flow Slam, at least just for this weekend, because there's so many shows that are going to be on there. It might be worth it. Yeah,
I hear there's kind of some issues been going on with that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I figure it might be worth $20 to check out some of these shows.
It will be. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stuff. And, I mean, Evolve always puts on good stuff. Everything it will always get a hold of.
Yeah. So, yeah, speaking of streaming services, guys, we have to talk about Southpaw Pro Wrestling and what your thoughts are on the late. I guess it's not really on the streaming service. It's on the YouTube page. I can't believe they didn't put this on the WWE Network. But if you haven't seen it, there's like 4 5-minute shorts on it's like this 80s parody starring several WWE superstars. I think Rusev, to me, was the highlight on there. John Cena's pretty good.
I was going to say.
Even if he's not, like, what he's saying isn't funny, the character he's doing, his character work is like really incredible how he's nailing that role.
Yeah. Justin, your thoughts?
Same thing. I thought John Cena was the standout for me. He was fantastic. And I did realize that we finally saw your new favorite wrestler, Pelvis Wesley.
Oh, yeah. No, not really. I hate that Elvis parody stuff, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was pretty funny.
And we also learned that how widely underrated is Breezango.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these guys are just fantastic.
They're good entertainers.
Yeah.
I think they're getting buried with the current gimmick, but it's not probably headed anywhere.
I'd love to watch that. I'd love to see them work a house show match, Breezango. I think, like, if you gave them, like, a little bit of time just to kill, I think they'd just be fun to watch.
I saw them 3 or 4 weeks ago at a house show.
How were they?
They're pretty funny. They got a decent reaction from the crowd. Actually, they got a better reaction from the crowd than American Alpha did. To be honest with you, I'm dead honest. American Alpha, they came out as like crickets, and Breezango actually got a little bit of a reaction. People were laughing. There was some guys, really drunk guys, sitting next to me that you could tell were just kind of like they just went for something to do. They didn't really watch the product, but like, who the hell are these guys? They were laughing their asses off at them though. So they did what they were supposed to do. They were entertaining.
By the way, speaking of American Alpha, I laughed really hard because the tweet that you sent came across as almost angry a few weeks ago about American Alpha's music.
Oh God, their theme is terrible.
Like, you were just that one. You wanted that one to go right to Jim Johnson. I think that one. Like, this team needs new music immediately. And like I'm like, yeah, their music does kind of blow.
It's true. There's like nothing to it. It's got these little like high pitched noises. It's like dead silence half the time. That is an awful theme song. It sounds like a lighter version of the Hulk Hogan song that they had originally planned for him to come out to in the 80s. I think it's on like the wrestling album or something. In post-production, I'm gonna insert it right now in the background. You'll be hearing it right now. But it I don't know, for some reason it reminds me of that song, but it's like lighter. Doesn't fit their gimmick at all.
It never bothered me until you pointed it out, and now it really bothers me.
It is. It's true. It's a terrible theme song. Like these guys need something high energy, get some guitars and drums in there or something, more bass. I don't know. It's just like nothing to the song at all.
They're just too white meat, I think. It's kind of a gimmick that, you know, them sort of not getting over to the degree that they'd hoped as baby faces kind of reminds me a little bit. I'm going pretty obscure here. Remember when they brought Furnace and LaFon in?
Yeah.
You know, Dan Crawford and Doug Furnace. And like they were doing everything right. They pushed them. Remember they won at Survivor Series 96, their first night in the company. But they just never got over because it was just kind of like in a passe white meat babyface team. If I could bring it around to WrestleMania 3, if you'd like. It's kind of like doing the Can-Am connection in 2017. You know, Martel and Zink were great workers, and at the time that worked, but now nobody really wants that.
I got a funny Can-Am connection story. This guy's one of my good friends now, but when we like became friends in high school, I was like walking in my car in the parking lot, and he had heard I was a big wrestling fan, and he came out to me, introduced himself, and I shit you not, the first thing he said to me was like, "How long have you been watching wrestling, and what was your thoughts on the Can-Am connection?" I'm not kidding you.
Wow, that's pretty specific. I mean, the Can-Ams were not together very long.
I know. This was in probably like 2000. This conversation happened. But he loved the Can-Am connection, man.
Wow, that 8-month run. They were supposed to be tag champs before Tom Zink got a hold of Rick Martel's W-2s.
Yeah, you know, with American Alpha, what I'm doing, if they're worried about hurting the depth in NXT, seriously, they need a rehab run. I'd send them down, and I'd bring Revival up after Mania.
I wouldn't send them down. I would definitely tweak what they're doing with them, though. They needed more. You know, when they did that knee injury angle, that probably was not well timed. They needed to be on TV just squashing people right out the gate. And you know, they kind of, well, Cena said it. I can say it too. They look like pussies. So, that quick, you know, doing that angle so quickly.
I think that they could benefit just being off the main roster television for a while, and I think going to NXT could help them. Like you're saying, get a makeover. They could start the new gimmick down there and then come back up. But I think that, speaking of the SmackDown tag division,
they don't even have a title match.
Yeah, no match at Mania, right? No title match at Mania. That's tells you the status of that and their thoughts on American Alpha right now.
Yeah, because it makes you wonder if they're even going back to Alpha at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's going to be a big call-up. I don't know if, I mean, you know, the Hardys are coming in. The Revival's going to get called up. I don't know who's going to what brand. You know, the Hardys as baby faces would make sense to go to SmackDown, but me thinks they're going to go to Raw, so.
I saw a tweet earlier today. I can't remember who sent it out, but they said one of the biggest missteps of the brand split was not putting all the women on one brand and all the tag teams on the other brand. And we talked about it at the time about maybe that would be a good idea. What do you think about that? Either of you? Go ahead, Justin.
I'm okay with how it is. They need a few more ladies on Raw so we can get some different storylines and whatnot. But yeah, honestly, SmackDown would be fine too. I'm just not big into this kind of random, every woman involved title match at Mania. Just kind of weird.
Yeah. Well, the SmackDown women's roster changed a lot from what they originally had planned. And speaking of which, Kyle, it looks like your favorite, Eva Marie, may not ever return to the company.
That's too bad.
Did you drink heavily this week when you heard about that?
I did. I looked at that stock photo we have of her in the back end of the website and just drank heavily and thought about better times, man.
Better days.
But to answer your question, I go back and forth on that. There's certainly arguments pro and con about having the women all on one show and the tag teams on the other show. Whichever show got the women would probably come out better, because Vince McMahon has never ever shown any inclination to have tag teams be any kind of top draw or any draw period. I mean, really, WWE is like the only company in the history of pro wrestling that never main evented with its tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there may have been some examples, but
Mega Powers.
Well, yeah, I mean, like a legit tag team, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, like a not super team like that. So
Yeah, it's that tag division on both sides. They're just so thin, and there's only so many directions they can go.
and we talked about this too. When you have a big show like Mania or SummerSlam, you've always got the issue of kind of, but you have to have 2 women's title matches, 2 tag. I mean, they don't have 2 tag title matches on WrestleMania, but you know what I'm saying? It just kind of like eats up space on your card. It's like, oh crap, we have to have 2 women's matches. I actually have no issue with the women's match, the SmackDown women's match being on the pre-show. I know some people think it's hideous demotion, but I don't know. It's kind of weird having 2 women's title matches on the same show.
I think it kind of sucks they're not on the main show. I have a little bit of a problem with it.
It's the show still. I mean, the pre-show. What does that mean? I mean, pay-per-view really doesn't.
Well,
I agree with that.
When someone goes to watch the show, like in future years though, and they click on WrestleMania 33, the match is not even on there.
Are you sure?
Yeah, you have to click the kickoff show to watch it.
Well, I mean, that's not that big of a deal.
Well, it's kind of like the match doesn't exist on the show.
Well, I mean, it's not. It's not Huckster Nacho Man in '96 on viewer choice. I'll tell you that.
You saw my tweet I sent out on that, I hope.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. Well, this gets into the Goldberg discussion. We haven't got there yet.
No.
Well, the thing is, in '96, WWF was making fun of Hogan and Savage, of course, the old guys, geriatrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nacho Man, all that. At the time, in 1996, Hogan and Savage were nearly a decade younger than Bill Goldberg is right now.
That's true, but Goldberg's a young 50.
he's a young 50.
He didn't work that much, so he doesn't have.
He got gray in his goatee. If you saw the tweet Justin sent out this week,
yeah, he doesn't have as much tread on the tires. It's weird that Vince back then. I wonder if this is kind of like him, sticking with the old guys now is sort of a reaction to how quickly he was willing to write these guys off in the 90s. Because writing Hogan off and Savage off as quick and Piper off as quick as he did came back to bite him, obviously, because WCW signed them and, obviously had their best era ever using old WWF guys at the top. And I wonder if some of that plays into why we see Vince kind of sticking with the old hands on top now so much.
Well, the counter to that is he also was kind of forced, well, not forced to, but he was pushing these younger guys that ended up being big draws, and maybe that's what he's missing out on now.
Well, yeah, but if you remember, the guys he went with, as much as I love Brett and Shawn, didn't really work. It wasn't until all those guys were long gone and he had to do something when he'd got rid of all, that Austin 316.
Brett and Shawn brought on the Attitude Era, though, which profitable period in company history, I guess.
I wouldn't give them too much credit there for that.
Well, okay. Brett and Austin, though, is the angle that turned around business in '97.
Yeah, it was. That was, yes, for sure.
And then Shawn with DX, that kind of
stuff. Well, that Shawn, was different. I mean, but babyface Shawn on top didn't really work.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And nor did babyface Brett, for that matter.
Well, it was a lot better than Kevin Nash on top.
Yes, that is very accurate. Yes, yes.
But I think if you go to the birth of the Attitude Era and what brought that on, it's the Austin Hart angle and DX, and then eventually the screw job that made McMahon a character.
Mm-hmm. Those three. I was referring to 94, 96 Brett and Shawn when they were trying to build them up as the top baby faces to carry the company. Mm-hmm. That didn't work in either instance.
Yeah. So. Speaking of what works and what doesn't work, let's go right into that WrestleMania discussion. So if we're looking at this as each match is a stock on the stock market, what do we think is trending up? And what do we think is trending down heading into the show this Sunday? Let's start with you guys want to start with trending down or trending up? Start positive or negative here?
Negative.
All right, negative. What's trending down in your opinion, Justin, as of right now?
It's nothing on them. It just doesn't seem like they've really been doing much with them. But the Jericho-Owens feud is kind of lost a little bit of the steam it had.
Oh.
Still looking forward to it. But in the past couple of weeks, what have they done?
I liked that angle 2 weeks ago where he ate the list of Jericho. That was fun.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like neutral. I wouldn't say down for me personally, but I'm still more interested in that than what is the Universal title match. But I would say, yeah, you could go either way on that one. That's for sure. I think obviously the SmackDown women's match is trending down. We talked about that. That kind of why it's on the pre-show. Kyle, give me something trending down.
Wyatt Orton is my pick.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be honest with you, of the main 8 men's matches on this show, I mean, I don't know. I'll put the mixed tag as a men's match just for the sake of argument. There's each brand has 4 top matches. That's the one I think I'm looking forward to the least. When you talk about the 2 title matches, Roman Undertaker, the mixed tag, Triple H Rollins, the IC match, AJ Shane, the US title match. I think of those 8, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton is the one I'm looking forward to the least. Build has not been for me.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Too mid-90s Taker.
Doesn't work in 2017 very well, I think you could say.
Hocus Pocus is what I think I want from a SmackDown review.
It's way too hokey. That 18 to 49 age group demographic that they covet so much. I don't know how much that plays to those guys. I would say, what else is trending down? The Andre Battle Royal. I mean, does anyone really care?
Yeah, they didn't even try with that. I mean, that's basically going to be, what do we think? It's going to be Show and Strowman tossing everyone and then just coming face to face.
Yeah. Should we go right to trending up, or you guys have anything else on the downside? I'm looking at the card right now.
Trending down.
I know which match I would say is trending up the most.
I know which my pick is too.
Triple H, Rollins.
Yes.
Yeah.
Triple H, Rollins. They've got that peaking at the right time.
Yeah,
they've
that
done
is
a good job the last couple weeks.
Best segment by far on Raw. I think the injury to Seth Rollins, we talked a lot about how his babyface run was such a failure the last couple months, but man, that latest injury, as awful as it is for him personally, might have been like the best thing to happen to him.
Yeah,
it's really reinvigorated his run as a face, I think. So yeah, that's my pick, trending up number 1. Justin, what do you think's trending up?
I would say, the tag match, which I had 0 interest in, is now something I'm looking forward to. It now that it's a ladder match. Although the downside is they don't really have the flippy guy to do all the stunts. It's just basically a bunch of bruisers. But it's still, for me, it's way more interesting than it was previous to the stipulation.
Just throw Enzo off the top of the ladder.
He's going to take a big bump, I think. He's going to take a big bump. He's there. I kind of like how they could do maybe a different ladder match, because you're never going to get, we talked about WrestleMania 17 at the top of the show. You're never going to get Hardy's, Edge, and Christian Dudley's again. They're not doing those spots anymore. They're just not. I mean, I'm sorry, people can want them, but you had guys who got really injured a lot, and some cases it wasn't good. Cut Edge. Those matches cut Edge's career short, probably. So this could be kind of, and Cesaro in there. He's going to be the glue guy. There's no doubt about it. So,
yeah.
But the other clear trending up to me, Triple H Rollins, I agreed with you there, is the mixed tag with Cena and Nikki against Miz and Maurice. The creative there has just been outstanding the last couple of weeks with the parodies of Total Bellas and Cena's promo work. Wow. I mean, that's shaping up as probably one of the most heated matches on the card.
Justin, I know you weren't with us last week, so if you want to throw out any predictions or where you think they should go in these matches, feel free. We talked about it last week at length, but I was going to point out with that match, are we all in agreement that Miz and Maurice should win?
They should. I don't know if they will, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
Man, they emasculated them in that segment, and for them just to lose after that?
Yeah, storyline wise, Cena and Nikki probably need to win, but just the smark in me would love to see the Miz go over.
Yeah, I think long term wise, since Cena's going to be gone, Nikki's not going to wrestle full time anymore. Miz has much more to gain long term from pinning John Cena on a WrestleMania, I think. I don't know what's going to happen, especially if they actually are going to do the whole proposal thing, which would be one of the most predictable in history. But
I think they've got to do it at this point.
Yeah. I hope that John has actually already proposed and this isn't like the real thing. Because if Nikki's been waiting for this like for years and it's this predictable, that's a bit of a letdown.
I'm going to make sure people are cheering, by the way, in that crowd. That would be hideous to people. A nice moment like that and people are booing. Bunch of single dudes booing.
Hey, I do have a couple things that you guys talked about last week. Two things that surprised me quite a bit is everybody, I heard the word obvious thrown out a lot, talking about Corbin is going to go over Dean Ambrose, and I don't think it's that obvious. I mean, I could easily see them, they set up Ambrose for a long IC reign. I mean, it can go either way, but...
I called that this year's AJ Jericho match where it seemed obvious last year that AJ would win and then Jericho won. I think this match is in that slot for me where I think storyline wise, you would think, they're building up Baron Corbin. He should win, but I think Ambrose is probably going to win personally.
Both guys were not on. They did nothing for that angle on the go home show on SmackDown. That was a little surprising. And that was a good comparison I thought you made last week, Ryan, saying that, everyone's expecting the title change. So maybe they don't. I hate when they do that, though. To me, the title should go to Baron Corbin. Mm-hmm. If we're doing the top rope press, who should, who will. Gimmick, who should win is Baron Corbin. Yeah, because along with Miz, they need if AJ's going to Raw that's been rumored, they need top heels on this brand, so they need somebody to get some wins on that side.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think about it? Do you think Justin? Do you think Corbin should win, or are you on the other side of the fence there?
I honestly don't have too strong an opinion. I think Corbin's fine if he does lose because I deem Ambrose as a top guy, but I dig Corbin, so I'm all right if he wins. Mm-hmm. What it means for after that, I'm not too concerned with because I can just switch it right back to Ambrose if need be or whatever.
What do you guys think about this Taker Reigns match? Is that trending up or down?
Up.
Yeah, I'm stoked. For our beer summit this weekend that we had, I think I got into a bit of an argument with Tim about Roman Reigns too. How, for me, he's basically already a heel. He's a heel to Smarks and a face to Marks, and I really hope he just crushes the Undertaker. I hope it's Super Punch City. Just makes all the Smarks sad because his straw reaches across the arena and drinks the Smart tears.
Damn it! I'm going to have to remake the intro to the show now because I like that quote you just said. I'm going to have to put that with our music now at the beginning. Would you say he's a heel to the Smarks and a face to the Marks? I like that.
Yeah. And I have an idea to kind of spice up this match just a little bit more. So it's about whose yard it is. A battle between the two big dogs. Special guest referee Michael Vick.
Oh my!
Man. No.
What do you think of? Hold on here. Let's get a special opinion on Mike Vick here. Hold on one second.
Oh, here comes the dog. You had to do it. There he is. You're watching us on YouTube right now.
Zuki, what do you think about Mike Vick?
Fuck him.
That's incredible. He's never spoken like that before.
Just for the record, I am a dog person. I think.
Okay. Mike Vick paid his debt to society. I have no issue with him anymore. But how did you get in here, by the way?
All the more reason you guys need to be watching us live on YouTube. Patreon.com/Top Rope Nation. Get access. $1 a month. You can see.
I just start grabbing dogs and putting them on video. Yeah.
Me and Kyle were talking before we came on air, and Undertaker matches make me uncomfortable now. I don't know if I'm getting older and coming to terms with my own mortality, but ever since like Sting getting injured, and honestly Undertaker at WrestleMania 30, it's kind of cringeworthy. I'm just more worried about him than I am excited to see him wrestle, but the match should be good. Hopefully, I think Reigns should be able to carry him to something special.
Who would ever imagine we would say that Reigns will be able to carry him?
Roman Reigns is an underrated worker. He's miscast in that babyface role, but my God, was that promo incredible on Raw Monday night.
Yeah, he's had some good ones talking about how, like, even going back to the one with HBK where, like, he retired you, but I'm going to retire him.
Yeah, I agree. That match is trending up.
His promo work has been so, because you're right. They know that it's not like WWE. People are like, oh, what WWE? I can't believe they thought he'd get cheered doing that. They don't think that. They don't. They put him out there in Philly. I mean, he was laughing when he came out there and said, I won the Royal Rumble 2015 Royal Rumble in here in Philly, and he had that big shit-eating grin on his face. That was absolutely outstanding. My hat's off to Roman Reigns. One of the finest human beings in the WWE.
Oh my god! About half our viewership just turned this off right now. Thanks a lot.
Why? Because of that?
Yeah, people hate this guy.
Well, I mean, hey, I'll tell you what. When it's his yard, there's gonna be a strict no trespassing sign for the mark. The Smarks are the new marks.
I think Roman Reigns is a much better worker than people give him credit for. I don't like the way he's booked at all, but that's not his fault. I think he's a lot better in the ring than people give him credit for. I agree with that.
Here's a quote too. Justin's quote made me think of that great old Brian Pillman quote when he threw it right back at those ECW fans' faces. Remember when he showed up at the ECW arena? He was working. He had just done the big angle at Super Brawl with Kevin Sullivan, and he showed up in ECW and he said, what's a mark? A mark is a guy who believes that OJ didn't do it, and a mark is each and every one of you sorry sons of bitches. That was one of the most incredible things, and the place just went silent.
Oh man, is that on the network?
No, it's CyberSlam 96. I don't think it's on the network. It is one of the most incredible promos. It's the one that they talk about a lot on the DVD. It's the one where he looks right in the camera and calls Bischoff a piece of shit. And
yeah, I vaguely remember it. I need to rewatch that.
No, it is one of the most amazing promos ever. Yeah, what's the other line? You know what Eric Bischoff is? Eric Bischoff is each and every one of you MF and smart marks rolling the one giant piece of shit. That is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen.
Oh man,
Pillman was the best.
Yeah. Pillman never got the run that he deserved.
No, he was too far ahead of his time with that gimmick. And
but boy, that Humvee accident, if he actually could have came into WWF and been able to go right from the start, things would have been a lot different.
Oh yeah, he was the first guaranteed deal they gave. People forget about that.
Yep.
Before Vince, he didn't give. He gave opportunities before Brian Pillman. As he liked to say.
Yeah, as he liked to say. I'll tell you one I really think is trending up because I think this could be the best match on the show. Neville and Austin Aries.
Yes, and I think it's actually a good thing they got moved to kickoff because that should allow them more time to put on something special.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this is by far the most interesting match the division's had since being reborn. And it's interesting that neither guy came from the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah, it's true. It's really the big thing the only thing they've been pushing on 205 Live for the last several weeks. Most of the show has been geared around that. So, yeah, we got that one. Shane and AJ, up or down?
Up. Ever since he did that beatdown in the backstage area, it's been up for me.
I'd say up too. I'm still not really looking forward to the match itself that much, but I think storyline wise, it's been built up better.
One of my favorite parts on SmackDown was when AJ pointed out to Shane, it's like, "Hey, but this is a match. This is not a gimmick match for things for you to jump off of or smash through. No, this is between the ropes."
Yeah,
the irony though is I think that's a mistake. Why would you do that with Shane McMahon? I feel like that's not a good use of Shane McMahon. I don't want a catch-as-catch-can match with Shane McMahon.
You guys have seen their building. You've seen the entranceway, I assume, on Twitter with the pictures. It's like there's a big roller coaster, the massive ramp. So obviously you guys think Shane's doing something off the roller coaster.
I mean, what else are they paying him for?
Awesome. I know he's got to be.
Yeah, he's got to. I mean,
it is one of the most insane WrestleMania setups I've ever seen. I'm looking forward to seeing the finished product.
I tell you what, if Lesnar doesn't kill Goldberg walking down that ramp, will.
I liked on our Twitter account, Justin, he posted the picture of from Airplane where he's just drenched in sweat, and you're talking about that's going to be Goldberg and Lesnar coming down the ramp.
I think that match is going to be, because it's funny, you guys talk about how AJ and Shane is trending up for you. And to me, that's solely because I think people were kind of not into the idea of that match. That was one of the last I think of all the big matches, that was the last one that they actually got the angle going on TV. I mean, to be honest, I mean, if you're not someone who reads the internet, you're just watching the TV, you wouldn't be clued into that match until they did the angle that Justin talked about when he threw Shane through the window. So, you know, that was a great angle, and there hasn't been too much time for it to come down from that. I think, there's just been 2 weeks. That was 3 weeks ago they did that angle.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, you know, my point is Brock and Goldberg, coming from a low bar, I think that match is going to exceed expectations. Bold prediction right here. Goldberg-Lesnar will exceed expectations.
So would you say it's trending up then?
I don't know if it's trending up. I'm going to hold on that one. I thought Heyman did cut a hell of a promo on Monday night.
I might put that one as trending down personally.
I do
Not
have
that I
some,
thought it was great, but
something in regards to that match, Goldberg-Lesnar, and something you guys were talking about last week when you were doing your picks. A lot of people picked Bray Wyatt to win, which kind of surprised me because I'd say, to me, the most obvious pick on the card is Lesnar going over Goldberg. So if Bray wins, that's two quote-unquote heels winning the championship at a WrestleMania. And how many times previously has a heel won the championship at WrestleMania? 2-3 times?
Yeah, it's been in the 2-title era. I think it was a little more common, wasn't it?
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it did. I mean, the first 15, it never happened, obviously. But I'm trying to think of heels that have walked out of Mania. Well, Seth Rollins, they did the big angle.
Triple H in 2000.
Austin, because they turned him heel.
Yeah.
Yokozuna, but then he immediately lost it to Hogan.
Oh boy. Heels that walked out of Mania as champion.
Triple H? We said Triple H?
Yeah.
In 2000. I don't think he ever did, though. Let me think. Because, Triple H beat Booker T. So if you want to go back to when they had 2 titles, at 19, he beat Booker T as a heel. He defended the title. That was a very ill-fated program. Yeah. Other than there hasn't been a ton, though. You're right.
I just can't see doing both titles on one show.
I think when we were talking about the match on the show last week, that was kind of us looking at it as idealists, that we thought Bray should have it, like he deserved it more. But I think, didn't some of us say Orton would win? I think it seems obvious, but
I'm going to stand firm. I mean, I could see Orton winning it. I know that's I think that's what the odds say, but man, I wouldn't change it now. They need to get more heat on the babyface there. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, they built a hell of a program where the heel's out for revenge here. So,
if it was up to me, if I could choose the outcome of one match, it'd be that one, and it'd be Bray going over.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we were last week.
You know, that's a good point. Actually, I agree with that completely. That if there's one thing that I'm like, man, I would be. If there's one, you know, if I'm in the writer's room and I'm arguing, I'm like, guys, I think we got to keep the title on Bray.
Yeah,
I don't think they've really done much with him as champion except have him whining in front of the video screen.
Well, and to me, this is their kind of their third opportunity to level him up. I think they could have done that at WrestleMania 30 by beating John Cena. They didn't. And even though it was kind of hokey when he stole The Undertaker's powers and they had the match at Survivor Series, I think they had an opportunity there to do something special with him. And now, once again, with him embodying the spirit of Sister Abigail now or whatever, I think they once again have an opportunity to make him level up.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the Raw women's match trending up or down. I think that and, well, a little more on Brock Goldberg. That's all we got left on the card. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at on this one.
Kind of trending down for me a little bit.
Yeah, the whole Raw women's division's been trending down for a long time. I guess, God, I'm really hoping for that Sasha heel turn. I think we said last week that we thought it's more likely on Raw the next day than happening at Mania.
Yeah, the actual turn, I think, would take place at Raw.
They might, like, kind of allude to it at Mania with the finish, and then the actual, promo that Sasha would cut would be the next night.
Didn't they announced this as an elimination match now, right?
That shocked me.
Mm-hmm.
That shocked me because I thought that doing just a, one person gets one fall match would actually tell the story better with Sasha stealing a pin on Bayley, and then you would protect Charlotte and Nia Jax. I'm actually pretty surprised they went to the elimination gimmick.
Yeah, I think there's only two ways this goes for Nia Jax now. either she's the first eliminated after they all triple team her because she's the monster, or else she's winning it. I think the last 3 are going to be Charlotte, Bayley, and Sasha. In the last 2, I would think, especially if they're going to do the Sasha heel turn, come down to her and Bayley.
Yeah.
The more I think about it, I don't think that was a wise move to do the elimination gimmick here.
Makes it interesting. This is one of those matches I could easily see any 4 of these win.
They could go the old 80s booking and just do a double DQ for the first two people and just only one person lays down.
Closing thoughts on Goldberg and Lesnar, you guys? Anything we haven't mentioned on that match? We've already kind of alluded to it, but the finish seems obvious. Unless they have Goldberg sticking around a little bit longer for another match right away, but I don't think that they would have Goldberg get the better of Brock 3 times in a row.
Yeah, that'd be kind of weird. I'm hoping for a WrestleMania 9 moment where Lesnar beats the crap out of Goldberg and then out comes Balor to save the day.
That would be great. I think almost zero chance that happens.
Yeah.
What do we think? By the way, I thought of the only other time a heel walked out of Mania as a champion. It was at WrestleMania 26. Chris Jericho beat Edge.
Yep.
And that was not the top of the card. That was the, I think Cena Batista was the other title match, if I remember on that show.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think about Finn Balor possibly returning as a heel and costing Seth Rollins the match against Triple H and joining up with Triple H, Owens, and Joe?
I would love it, but I don't think there's any way it happens. I think I've said it before. There's just too much money in it with the demon figures with kids.
Yeah, that was my argument against it. Because then you really can't do that gimmick anymore, because that's a babyface gimmick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's too much money in merchandise with him, and it makes sense from a storyline.
Yes, because his character's got a bone to pick with Rollins for the injury.
Yeah. I've talked ever since we started this show about how great he is he's a better heel than a face. If you watch him in New Japan, but not to go Johnny New Japan in here, but he is a great heel. So I don't think it happens that soon. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, if creating a WrestleMania moment, talking about this Rollins and Triple H match, maybe Owens and Joe come down, and Rollins is saved by Ambrose and Reigns. Shield reunite.
Because I'm very intrigued. If you talk post-Mania directions, the thing I'm most intrigued with is this whole concept. Is there going to be like a new evolution? Because if Lesnar is the champion on Raw, he's not going to be around all the time. So you need to have another top heel act on that show. And to me, that's likely to be, a new evolution or whatever you want to call it. It just feels like they need someone else for that group, and I don't know who that's going to be. I think Bobby Roode would be perfect for the role, but I don't know if that's in the cards.
Yeah, you said that a few weeks ago. I really like the Bobby Roode angle with that, but we'll see. Kyle, how are your seats for the show, by the way?
Pretty good, I guess. We're in the risers, so it's like not on the floor, but it's I think one of the first few rows of the risers. So maybe I'll tweet a picture out or something like that.
Nice.
I don't know if I've ever tweeted a picture before. I'll do it though.
At TRP Kyle, give him a follow. I'll be looking forward next week to hearing your thoughts from attending.
Yeah,
these shows
I'm interested to hear, what it's like, watching on TV versus, my experience live. Because I probably won't watch the actual WWE Network broadcast until I don't know when.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking we're going to take this show home. So any closing comments before we sign off? Justin or Kyle, before we head on off into the sunset for WrestleMania weekend?
It's 3 weeks late, but congrats to Christopher Daniels on being the Ring of Honor champion.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well deserved. Kyle, as you depart us for sunny Orlando.
We are, I believe, 4 days and About 4 hours away from Brock Lesnar Goldberg. I'm counting down. Who's next?
Kyle Rosberg is ready for the big main event.
Who is next, man? Come on.
Guys, thanks for listening to this week's edition of Top Rope Nation. Check us out on iTunes. Leave us a rating. Click subscribe. Pro Wrestling Tees, like I said, they got a 15% off sale. Pick up your Top Rope Nation or Top Rope Press gear on there. Just go to prowrestlingtees.com/Top Rope Press, and you can get the Top Rope Nation shirt on there. It's a good-looking shirt. It'll get you all the ladies. Trust me. Check us out on topropepress.com, as always, and Patreon. And we will catch you guys after WrestleMania. I don't know if we're going to be doing a post show or not. We haven't decided. Kyle obviously is not going to be available, but Justin and I have to talk about that yet.
I'll tell you what, I will not be fit to be on the air.
But yeah, follow us at TR Nation Podcast on Twitter, and we'll keep you on the loop on that. Otherwise, we'll be back with the standard show middle of next week. We'll get Kyle's reaction, everything that went down. So enjoy WrestleMania. Catch you guys next time.
Bye.